We once again call on the authorities, including our own deployee to the city of Johannesburg as the MMC of public safety, to ensure that such things do not happen, but also that there are consequences. We expect a detailed report to be submitted to our office by the MMC of public safety in this regard. We reject the imperial forces marking the 7th of October 2023 as the day the Israeli-Palestinian war began. It was in fact yesterday, the 9th of October, that marked 1 year since the racist apartheid state of Israel embarked on a genocidal cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza, which began on the 9th of October 2023. In the past year, Israel has deployed high-graded weapons, including internationally banned phosphorus, to target civilians and destroy schools, hospitals, even century-old Palestinian heritage sites. Over 900 Palestinian family lines have been erased, with the death toll suspected to exceed 100,000, most of whom are women and children. Journalists and aid workers have also been ruthlessly targeted, while Israeli leaders openly declare their intention to obliterate Palestinian life. The complicity of the international community, particularly Western powers like the US and the UK, has been disgraceful. Despite the International Court of Justice issuing an advisory opinion to not be complacent in genocidal acts, billions in military aid have been channeled to Israel, perpetuating its war machine in what amounts to a proxy war. The EFF will continue to put pressure on South African government to cut all diplomatic ties with Israel. The EFF is engaging the Speaker of the National Assembly to ensure that the EFF motion adopted in the 6th Parliament for South Africa to cut all diplomatic ties is implemented. The EFF calls on all sectors to cancel or suspend economic relationship, trade agreements, and academic relations with Israel. We support the boycott, disinvestment, and sanctions movement. We reject the marking of 7th of October as the day the war and genocide against Palestinians began. Under the illegal occupation by Israel, Hamas legitimately resisted Israel's occupation of Palestine on that day. It was not an act of war. It is a battle for the freedom of the Palestinians. The creation of the largest open-air prison was a signal of the conditions for genocide. It has been 1 year and 76 years of occupation, apartheid, and imperial oppression. We demand an immediate ceasefire and an end to genocide. We once more condemn Israel's ongoing expansion of violence and illegal occupation in the Middle East. The Iranian missiles response to Israel's aggression against Lebanon, Syria, and the assassination of Hezbollah leader is a just and necessary defense. We send our well wishes to the people of the People's Republic of China, which observed the 70th anniversary of the founding of the Republic on the 1st of October, and we wish the people of the Republic of China well in the future as they remain committed to the peace, stability, and progress of the world. We wish the people of Mozambique well in their elections that took place yesterday, and we wish them peace as they continue with the counting. The people of Mozambique must respect the wishes of the electorate. We want to send our deepest condolences to Ray Macaulay, the senior pastor and founder of Rema Bible Church, renowned gospel artist and cultural icon Solimuholo, revolutionary poet James Matthews, and award-winning kwaito artist Sandy Lengwenya, known as Mapaputsi. We pray their spirit rest in revolutionary peace. I thank you.
Thank you, President. I think you need some water after that. Okay, we're going to take a round of questions. We're going to start on this side. So must we do 5 and then we'll take another 5 so we don't have a whole list of questions and sometimes we miss. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else on this side? And then 5. Then we'll move like that. You know the drill, yes? Name, media house, and question. Thank you.
Siyamthanda Chapa, News 24. Mr. Malema, you've just outlined the requirements for being admitted into the People's Assembly. I know the process is ongoing, branches are meeting. Have any of the branches or regions been disqualified based on the 10% rule that you put in place? And in terms of the logistics, which embassies have you invited to your People's Assembly? With regards to Tshwane, a lot of the parties that are in the multi-party charter, including yours, have put their necks on the line. Do you believe those parties can turn things around in the municipality? And finally, with regards to Mr. John Steenhuisen and referring him to the Ethics Committee, how far is the EFF willing to go to ensure that the matter sees finality and that people who started working in that office are not paid? Thank you.
Good afternoon, it's Natasha Piri here from SABC News. Just as a follow-up to Siyamthanda's question, especially on Tshwane, given what happened yesterday, are we likely to see a reconstitution perhaps of metros where the EFF is involved, perhaps maybe Sidibeng? And then in August, following the regional assemblies that you held, the EFF's World Council in KwaZulu-Natal had instructed its PCT to rebuild branches and structures there ahead of December. How's that work going? Also, you mentioned in July at the EFF's anniversary that heads would roll in the Northwest and Limpopo, and of course Limpopo we see leadership changes. How's that work going ahead of the elective conference? And then I just also want to find out, you and the former Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, remember you had made allegations against her. Do you still stick by them? Because she had said that you should provide evidence. If not, she'll take the matter further. You've mentioned the work of the EFF in Parliament and what you've managed to achieve so far. But I'm just also interested in knowing how the work of the Progressive Caucus is actually shaping up. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, for the many questions.
Naomi Kobe here with YFM. My question also pertains to the city of Tshwane. I think, Mr. Malema, of course we are seeing, some tensions playing out between those GNU partners, the DA and ANC there. Firstly, what do you make of what is playing out in the city of Tshwane? Just your honest, open opinion there. And then do you feel, this is an opportunity for the EFF to, I suppose, strengthen and maybe regain some traction there in Gauteng and the city of Tshwane? Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi.
Kotatsu Marisa from the Sunday Times. In relation to Tshwane, maybe to start there, do you as EFF believe perhaps that there should be sharing of mayoral chain with ANC having Joburg, Action SA now having Tshwane? Do you believe EFF should perhaps get Ekurhuleni? And then I think maybe these two should be linked. The proposal to move the branch in good standing from 100 members to 200 members, what is the rationale there? Is it not too high? And then maybe the one about maybe to expand on getting rid of the student command. What do you think would be the effect on universities? I mean, a lot of parties are contesting. It's a very hotly contested terrain. I had another one. How do you think, or how do you propose the aligning of curriculum in universities or in higher education to industrial needs? I mean, how would that work? Do you think the curriculum as it stands should be overhauled altogether? Should there be addition of subjects? I mean, what are you looking at? Mining? And maybe just an expansion on that. Thank you. Sorry for the long questions.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kokotso.
Good morning, Shannon Merricks from Kasi Broadcasting Africa. All protocol observed. My first batch, I'll deal with the EFF. Maybe later I'll come back to gossip and things like that if there's more time. It's clear from the statement that is made by the EFF president that EFF has done an audit of its branches, its members, and so on. With the National People's Assembly being in a few weeks, what is the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threats for EFF going to the NPA, coming from the 2024 national elections and going to the 2026 national elections, if that can be answered as one? And then the the student command being dissolved for the youth league, for lack of a better word. What's the future or the time frame for the women's league as well? Last but not least, did EFF dump the Progressive Black Business Caucus in favor of the Gauteng Government of National Unity? I'll come back later. Thank you.
We're not giving you any more questions. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. Of course, there are regions that are disqualified if your branches, like in KZN, we only have 14 branches that have met the requirement of 10%. Only 14, SG. Yes. So what we did, because there are so many branches that are disqualified by not meeting the requirement of 10%, we then invited branches that got 100 votes and above. Because for you to be a branch, you have to have 100 members in good standing. So why would you have 100 members in good standing and not get 100 votes if those are legitimate members? So that's but they are going to come as observers so that they come to appreciate that this thing of not working has got consequences. That invitation has been extended to KZN and the Western Cape. But everywhere else, it's a requirement of 10%. And that gives us is one delegate per branch and 2,123 qualified. So these delegates are going to be gender balanced because we have used a zebra approach. So if the first qualifying branch takes male, the second one must be a female, the third one male, the fourth one female. So because if we say one delegate per branch and we don't put that gender requirement, we are likely to have a hostel that looks like this new hostel that is formed in KZN. So we don't want to look like that. We remain committed to gender equality and the gender struggles. Things will turn around in time. And when we say the mayor must hit the ground running, we simply mean that, you know, it shouldn't take a mayor 2-3 days to send the trucks to go and remove illegal dumping in Mamelodi. If you go to Mamelodi, you'll be shocked by the state of affairs. And you go to Mamelodi, you'll find people in Mamelodi queuing for water, something that we are used to in the rural areas, not in a capital city. So we have that situation, and because the party that was in government only focused on the white areas. So we hope the bringing in of the EFF, Action SA, the ANC, will have the interest for all, not the interest for black people, interest for white people, but with the priority being the black people, the African townships and colored townships, followed by Indian townships and the white suburbs, because in the white suburbs they've got almost everything. But the colors and the Africans are the most excluded when it comes to service delivery in Tshwane. So we are for mayor sharing. We are for Tshwane, Action SA, Joburg, ANC, Ekurhuleni, EFF. But the ANC, in its form and character, is very disloyal to its own decisions, because they had agreed to this and then only changed later against what we agreed on. And it's the nature of coalition politics. You have to navigate them all the time. You don't say because we agreed on this and it's not working, then everything must collapse. No, you continue to battle it out. There is a huge intention to remove the EFF in Ekurhuleni for whatever reason. And we don't understand why is the leadership of Ekurhuleni hell-bent at removing the EFF, because there's a guy there called the doctor who's not so doctor in terms of qualifications like Guman, is a doctor by name, like Dr. Kumar. So what happens is that the guy is so incoherent and has got no clarity of thought, and he doesn't know what is really going on in terms of governance. And he's threatened by the young, capable leadership of the EFF, which is well articulate and forever on the ground servicing our people. So we're dealing with a mayor who suffers from inferiority complex and who wants to disrupt people, disrupt the whole service delivery on the basis of just being scared of Dunga. Dunga is a threat, a big threat to that guy. I don't know what that guy did. We had a discussion with the ANC not so long ago, and they said, you know, they removed Dunga because of the budget. He was not listening to them on the budget, corruption and all of that. I said, you removed Dunga because you say you didn't put your needs in the budget. But surprisingly, 2 days after you removed Dunga, you went to present the same budget of Dunga without changing a comma, to demonstrate that it was not true that Dunga is not listening to them. They took what Dunga wrote and went to read it. I told them right on their face that stop lying, because it's a lie. You say he didn't listen to you. You get an opportunity now to get a budget, change it to include what you say Dunga was refusing to include. You didn't include anything, including a full stop or comma. Anyway, then you said Dunga is corrupt. That municipality, the period under Dunga, is winning award after award, because awards are not awarded during your term. I mean, they are during a year. After a year, there are, you know, organizations, institutions that give awards. Go and look at Dunga's year. It's receiving awards, including a clean audit. And there's never been any scandal of corruption. Can we say that about the mayor? They want to remove the EFF because the EFF said the chief of police must be removed in Ekurhuleni because of sexual harassment cases against him. A group of men want to come to, a group of powerful men want to come together to defend a powerful man against vulnerable women who this man has been harassing. So we are not saying he's guilty, but we're saying allow the process to take place. The ANC was refusing that until we met with Panyaza and TK to put some sense into this doctor and Jongizizwe. And you could see, I told them, I said, they wrote a message, they said, there's no turning back today. were done with the EFF, I said, okay, let's look at what happened to where we reached a point where you say, today, there's no turning back. What happened today? What happened today is that the EFF supported a motion of the suspension of Chief of Police. And you are fighting for an individual, you are hiding behind nonsensical issues. And once you see them behave like that, you must know the Chief of Police has got something on them. Because they can't reason it out. You can see these guys are scared. So we told them we really are not married to the positions. If they want to remove the EFF, they must feel free to do that. We have no problem with that. But we'll never succumb to corruption and sexual favors and refusing to promote people because they refuse to give you sex. And because we want to be MMCs, we must defend that. We refuse that. And we still refuse it to date. So we're not calling for any reconstituting of any municipalities. We want stability. And from the few days observation I've made as a head of GTU, not GNU, GTU. The mayor of Johannesburg, despite that he came in Chacharach with hiring people who would come from outside to be security officers, if he continues the way he's continuing, he's going to get this municipality stable. Because since he took over, there is some sense of what we are doing. And we want that kind of leadership with maturity. The deal in Tshwane, by the way, was made possible by Dada Morero, who did the behind the scenes for the sake of stability, starting here in Joburg, going into Johannesburg. So why would you want changes there? We just elected him and so far so good. Let's give Tshwane a chance. Let's leave that Domkop of Ikuruleni to expose himself. He's not gifted, he's got no talent. That thing, if he's not careful, it will collapse in his hands, but we won't allow that. The rebuilding of structures in KZN, we're all now busy with the NPA. And the focus is on the 14 branches that met 10% and on the other branches that are going to be the observer. So far, we're doing very well with regard to that. And in KZN, all our structures are intact. There's no any region or sub-region or whatever that has gone to any of the organizations that are currently formed in KZN. So, and we met with the structures in KZN. We met with the regions, we met with the province. They all gave accountability and were satisfied with the explanation that was provided by the leadership of KZN. They put up a fight. It was not easy for them. It was not an easy task. And we had to reflect about it as to what were we going to do differently if it was us, given that challenge these people were facing in KZN. So we don't see any element of laziness, of abandoning structures and organizational work from amongst the leaders of the EFF in KZN. So there's no need. We have resolved. SG, someone was telling me there's someone who says there's still going to be a CCT decision about KZN. The CCT has taken a decision to leave the structures of the KZN as intact as they are. We are going to rebuild KZN together with those existing structures. So there's no structure in KZN that is going to be disbanded. If it gets disbanded, it will not be on the basis of 2024 elections. It will be on their failure to engage in the rebuilding process that we are engaged in. Northwest, again, we got a satisfactory explanation from the leadership. The problem is in Buchanan. And we disband where the need arise. And we're still seized with that matter of Bujanala, where we lost almost 27,000 votes. We cannot leave that unattended to and unpunished. It's a matter we're seized with because Bujanala, it's a very critical region for us if we want to have an impact in Northwest. The ANC, in its articulation of 2024 elections, preparations, they had not counted Northwest in the top 3. That's how much they themselves had given up on Northwest. And then people go and play with such an opportunity because the ANC was saying, Northwest, well, it's gone. They were saying the top 3 is Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga. And then Mpumalanga was overtaken by Northwest. So even from the opposition point of view of the ANC people and their own internal research had confirmed that Northwest cannot be counted in the top 3 provinces of the ANC. But to our surprise, and because of what we have explained, we got ourselves in that situation, which is, fixable. We were going to fix it. I wrote progressive question. What is the progressive? Well, the progressive caucus is there. It meets every Tuesday. The chief whips meet to prepare for a week ahead, and we have been on oversight, parliament recess oversight. So there was never a need because the progressive caucus works on the basis of what is on the agenda of parliament, what do we want to put on the agenda of parliament, which areas are we agreeing on, and then it begins and ends there, doesn't go anywhere. You can't say, as a journalist, that 200 members are too high, because you must ask yourself how many votes win you a VD. 200 members of votes don't win you a VD. There's no VD you can win with 200 votes. Well, if we're serious about winning an election and we're serious about building a mass-based organization, movement, we need to demonstrate it through the membership. We're not married to all of these ideas. We're just throwing them out there for the public and for the delegates to reflect and take a decision. So tomorrow I must not come here and defend the decision to retain 100 members, and then they say, you see, it's a flip-flopper. Last week he said 200 is discussion document. We must not engage in intellectual laziness. So even the student command, there is absolutely no disruption of the work that the student command is doing by introducing a youth command and say, today you are no longer called a student command, you are called a youth command, but everything else remains intact. It's just a name changing. Like the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League is in campuses, in the villages, and in the township. So we don't want to create what the ANC created with the Youth League and SASCO, where they end up contesting and fighting each other in the campuses. So we want the youth to be under one umbrella body. And we support the leadership of the student command, and we commend them for the good work they are doing out there. They are fighting big battles without us getting involved. They are doing it on their own. We have deliberately stayed out of it because we want to train them as the third layer of leadership of this organization. such that when they graduate into the mother body, they know that this is how battles are fought, and we're happy with what they are doing. So we just formalizing now the establishment of the youth command, which will retain the student command structures and then expand into the villages, townships, and suburbs, and then ultimately have its own conference. I can't put time frames now on the women's command or the youth command or anything. The conference will make reflections about that and then take a decision on time frames. And the new leadership will work on the basis of those time frames as determined by the conference. Our education has to be aligned to the objectives of developmental state and industrialization. So let's go to Limpopo, for instance. University of Venda, University of Limpopo, TUT, UNISA. Their primary focus must be on mining, must be on agriculture, must be on tourism, because that's what constitutes the core of the economy of Limpopo. So we cannot have a situation where the education of Limpopo continues to produce more teachers, yet there are no posts for teachers. If anything, the teaching posts are being reduced. So the education then becomes irrelevant to the industrial needs and the economic needs of that particular province. And this applies to everyone else. We should be having institutions of higher learning in the Western Cape that specializes with fishing, that specializes with the ocean economy. In the Western Cape, in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, and the other part of Northern Cape. So we cannot have an education system that is not speaking to what are the demands of the economy of that particular province. And that's what we are advocating for. On top of a decolonized education that will be driven by Pan-Africanism. Wits University, it's a mining university. It produces the best mining engineers in the whole world. Wits University. It was formed by mining companies, the Oppenheimers, to produce relevant skills for the requirements of that time in relation to mining in Johannesburg and Gauteng. So, guided by that, of course, it has expanded to produce many other skills, but it hasn't lost focus of what it seeks to achieve. And we should have all of that. Why is University of Walter Sisulu University not producing what is relevant for the Umtata area? Why is the Nelson Mandela University not relevant to Gqeberha? Why is Limpopo, University of Limpopo not big on agriculture? The University of Limpopo should be owning farms that specializes with all types of farming, be it a crop or animals, livestock or crop. Why is there no big farm owned by the University of Limpopo that produces cabbages, that produces tomatoes, that produces mangoes? That those farms don't have to be by the University SG. They can be anywhere in Limpopo and relevant to what that soil produces. And they produce not only to educate, because with agriculture, you can also create revenue for the university. As they produce teaching in the process, they also provide the markets with the products of what they are producing. We farmers, some of us are farmers, we get kids from agricultural sectors to come and train in our farms. That is education. We are educating them. We are giving them practicals without being institutions of higher learning. But institutions of higher learning are not doing that. You have in Sesheu there is a Capricorn FET college. Right next to it, all those industries and factories are closed. Why can't that TVET college look at what could be relevant to these factories and teach those people and train them as well in these factories and produce? Because we used to produce textile. Clothes used to be produced in that industrial area in Sesheu. There is a huge demand for such things. The university can teach that, and not university, the TVET college can teach that, and in the process supply, especially the retail stores that are there. We can demand that you must take some percentage from the students here who are producing this thing. That is revenue to the TVET college, but equally a skill transferred to the students. And that's what we're talking about. There is no threat to NPA of the EFF, National People's Assembly, the thing we're talking about, prosecuting authority. There is no threat at all. Anyone who behaves outside the guideline will not see that Nazareth. And even if you arrive by mistake and you misbehave there, we take the tag. We remove, that's why we give them those things. We take that thing and show you the door. Everyone is going to behave according to the code of conduct, constitution, and the guidelines of the EFF. And everyone is going to observe the discipline of the chairperson of the session. When the chair says, put your hands down, there's no hand that can stand. For what? So all of those rules will be read to delegates at the conference. There is no one who's going to book delegates into any hotel. Delegates are going to sleep in a hotel booked and paid for by the EFF. When they leave the hotel booked by the EFF, they get into a shuttle booked by the EFF. No one outside that hotel, who slept outside that hotel, will get into a shuttle of the EFF. And delegates will have access to the conference through the shuttle of the EFF. If you come outside the shuttle of the EFF, then there should be an explanation. It means you are misbehaving. Because I know these things of conferences. People book hotels, buy alcohol, steal delegates and dump them there and give them a different discipline. We can't allow that. Okay, if we pay this hotel, when you go and sleep in a hotel of a faction, what happens to this man of the EFF now? What must happen to this man of the EFF? We can't allow that. So there's even going into 2026 elections, there's nothing at all. What we are doing now, we did guidelines for election of what candidates. And we then put in the guidelines, which it will now be official by the NPA, that if the national officials are not satisfied with a candidate, they've got a right to remove that candidate. Because the candidates buy people alcohol on that day of nomination of the candidate. And then they get elected. But these are not community activists. This person is a common drunkard who pees publicly there. He's known. A drunkard. Then they say, this must be a candidate. And then you lose elections that you must win. You ask yourself how? You had a wrong candidate. And you have no mechanism to correct that. This thing that the chairpersons of branches and secretaries of branches and regions think that it is automatic to become a candidate. It's not. We can even go and fetch a pastor in your ward who's well respected, who aligns with the EFF, who joins the EFF. We say, no, we want this pastor to come. We want this principal to come. We want this teacher to come. Because the wards must be led by community activists, not by factionalists who are the best in lobby and then lazy in doing the actual work. Like in Tshwane now, after this, we are going to interview the potential MMCs. And you know what we are going to do? I was telling Leanne this morning. We are going to record the interviews on video for EFF archives, so that when these people don't make it, they don't speak nonsense about the EFF. You speak nonsense, we release the video. Or here's the person who says, now we didn't appoint him because we don't want him. Here's the interview of the person. Yeah. We need to start recording these people. Because they go out there and speak very bad about the organization as if they are the best. But they are not the best. They are the best factionalists who have no clue, none whatsoever, in what they want to do. They say they want to be MMCs or finance of this. We ask him a simple thing. What is the budget of Ikurlane? I agree you came here. You are being proposed as MMC of finance. You come to an interview. A simple thing of knowing the budget. Even if you are not exact, just around, this much. Some of these people we had not appointed in Johannesburg. And I was not head of GTU at the time. Some of the people we refused to appoint on the positions of MMCs could not tell us what does JMPD stands for. But we want to be an MMC of public safety. And when we don't appoint, we get spoken bad about, and we have nothing to back ourselves up. This is the person who says he wants to be a leader. In the EFF, you can lead if it's fine. You agree you are lobbying. You're doing what democracy. That is not. That's a deployment. There must be a different criteria, and that's what we are doing because we are serious about service delivery. Not about factionalism, not about who support who. We're not interested in that. We're interested in, do you know what you want to get yourself into? Do you have an appreciation of what this animal is? Thank you. Oh, Steineisen. What about him?
Him hiring unqualified illiterate whites.
Yeah, busy guy now. We're busy with that one. He's in the ethics there, where I sit. And these people can't be paid. Because if they get paid and they are unqualified, they themselves are getting themselves in trouble. Because once it is found that they were not qualified and not deserving of those salaries, they are going to be asked to pay back that money. And they are putting themselves into big trouble. Steineisen must just know ijampile. Unarwa mogola is not working. He must leave it. But because he's a matriculant and he loves matriculants himself, he's so married to that idea of hiring unqualified people. So we're not going to sit back. We've told all of you that DA is led by mediocrity and is saved by white skin. Because they are white, you don't critique them the same you are critiquing us. Today, you made us the face of corruption. Mashaba tells you every day, no leader of the EFF came to me when I was a mayor to ask for a tender, but we are the face of corruption. And he says, Tony Leon came to my house to ask for a tender. So, but DA is not a face of corruption because it's white skin. DA survives through Swar Khafar. So they put my face to scare white people. They've made me a political ho-ho of white people. When white people are about to shift, they say, "Whoa," and then they run away. But we supported DA here and they were ready to receive our support under Mashaba. Why didn't they say, no, we can't take the support of people who are going to kill us, who are going to destroy wildlife? We even supported the illiterate in Ekuruleni, Madam, who was very scared to go to Tembisa of DA, that madam. Madam, why that time when we were voting for her, she didn't see Swar Khafar? It's not real. And white supremacists, racist supremacists are gullible. They get told lies and they believe those lies. And they want to behave like white people are generally smart. But they can't see this is a lie. They're just scaring us here. These guys have got nothing against white people. They are fighting for equality. Whereas we speak in English. They hear the message more than all of us. And then on Mamana Lady Shemai, you know, I was making a political engagement in that interview. It's a political speech. It's a political speak. And I raised her name, and she clarified those things, that she has never been involved in those things and all of that. And she wrote a letter to me to ask for instruction and all of that. And I said, look, it's a political engagement. I respect you so much, and I've accepted the explanation you have given, and I don't intend to pursue that line, because now there is more clarity on what really transpired. And I've sent that letter, and I don't want to engage with her in a public spect. It's one of the respectable former ministers of our country who's at the forefront of fighting the struggles for the total liberation of Palestine. Why do you want to go into confrontation with such a person? So I did not say that to want to negatively impact on her image or anything. I was engaged in a political engagement. And she came back and said, no, but you are wrong. I'm not involved in the way you are describing it. I don't know what you're talking about and all of that, and accepted that. And that's a political engagement. That's how it works. So political speech is protected by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And that speech is presented differently from how lectures are presented in lecture halls. So we can't, when we're engaged in political speech, always be threatening each other with letters. I've written back and I said, look, I don't want to fight with the minister. I engaged the way I engaged, and she engaged the way she engaged. I accept clarity, and I don't want to pursue that line of argument. So that's the end of it. If she wants to pursue it, that's her own issue, but I'm not in that space anymore. Thanks.
Okay, let me get an indication of how many hands do we have for this last round, because we're not going to take another one. So we got 1, Power, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Natasha, only because President is from the public broadcaster.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then this one?
Oh,
is
yes.
not-
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, our
Yeah.
favorite. So you're going to go last, yeah?
Yeah.
Power?
Good day, everyone. My name is Yonela from Sauma HD Radios. Mr. Malema, I've got just one question. A month ago, you spoke about the changes that will take place within the leadership of the EFF. So in brief, can you please tell us what are those changes, and will they also affect the members of GTU? And in closing, are there any reconsiderations to fill the vacant post of the Deputy President? Thank you.
You can use the one next.
Okay, I think it's on now, yeah. Morning or afternoon, Mr. Malema. Alpha Ramushwana here from Eyewitness News. I also just want to speak about the DP position. All responsibilities of the Deputy President were moved to the office of the President. Would you support a motion at the NPA for the office of the Deputy President to be dissolved completely, and perhaps just have a President and an SG and all the other positions in the top executive? Secondly, I also want to speak about Dr. Kagaza, who you've spoken about today. He says he wouldn't mind having an executive in Ekurhuleni, which also includes the Democratic Alliance. So he seemingly wants the GNU to boil down to Ekurhuleni. What do you make of his proposal, or perhaps his intention to have that kind of formation in the city of Ekurhuleni? I also want to speak about your new government in Tshwane. Your relationship with ANC in Ekurhuleni is sour. Why do you still get in bed with the ANC, knowing what they did to you, remove the MMC of Finance in Ekurhuleni? Don't you fear that they could perhaps do the same in the city of Tshwane? I mean, they don't have the mayor there, but they still do have some sort of power. And lastly, Sihle Lonzi, the president of the Student Command, has spoken about how he feels about the relationship between the EFF and the MK party. And I mean, if we do look at the policies of the MK and the EFF, they don't really align. I mean, they believe in compulsory military conscription, sending pregnant teenagers to Robben Island, and all those right-wing sort of policies. Do you believe that the EFF should indeed relook the relationship with the MK party in parliament as far as the Progressive Caucus is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, El.
Thank you. I'm Khawala Magolego from UFM. You know, in reaction to Dr. Moya's election yesterday, the FF Plus says if you put together Action SA, EFF, and ANC, they are likely to get excited and want to, for example, in-source, and they will not have money for that. So they reckon that the banks would suddenly lose confidence in the metro because of this, your relationship with the ANC, and you'll very soon actually not even be able, the city won't be able to pay things like bonuses, which are coming up in November. Just your general reaction on that. And also, I think you have already reacted to being painted as the face of corruption. It's fine. And then last thing, the DA has been threatening to abandon talks with the ANC that are apparently meant to stabilize other hung municipalities. So I'm asking you as the EFF whether you are able to attest to any level of instability, say in Mogale City, Nelson Mandela, or eThekwini, that would require a DA intervention in order, to resolve.
Thank you very much. It's Zianda Ngobo from Newsroom Africa. I've got two questions that are almost linked. Just almost off the back of Alpha's question. So will the dynamic in Gauteng, where the EFF and ANC are working together, is that something that you're considering to escalate to national level? Are you finding it easier, for an example, excuse me, to speak to the Gauteng leadership of the ANC versus national leadership, because the dynamics seem to be quite different there? And then just my last one is to speak about your Constitutional Court matter on the 26th of November, where you're seeking to resuscitate the Phala Phala court case. Just wanted a bite on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Newsroom. Let's go to SABC.
Okay, these are just two questions that were sent by my colleagues. And they're asking, what is the EFF standing regarding Mogale City auction of land, where the EFF is in a coalition government with the ANC? The second one says, there's a story of a PRASA head of security, Alexio Papadopoulou, I hope I got that name right, reportedly not having matric. Is this something that Mr. Malema could respond to? Thank you. Yes, PRASA. I'll send you the thing.
Kasi Broadcasting.
Shannon Merrick's Kasi Broadcasting Africa, all protocol observed. The EFF statement talks about its NPA dealing with issues of the media. Now, there's a group of criminals that's been found guilty, that's been sentenced in South Africa for the biggest heist in Africa and Germany. Steinhoff, they are white. The media is silent. With Mr. Malema, Mr. Zuma, and whoever, we saw their underwear, we saw their farms and everything. The media is silent on these white convicted criminals. And the law in South Africa, these white criminals are at home, they pleaded guilty. They're at home in East States with indoor swimming pools, underfloor heating, all those nice things. But a black child that got the payment by mistake from NSFAS was sent to jail and so on. What's your opinion about that? Then on Vodacom, a black child started Please Call Me, has been caught for years. Nobody is supporting him. The Please Call Me case has been going on for years. Why is members of parliament not boycotting, and I mean members of parliament, not just EFF, boycotting Vodacom to settle the case, because it's been going on for years? Last but not least, Drip Footwear. EFF is going to an NPA. I think black business will be one of their commission or support for black business and so on. If it was Agri-Forum or Solidarity, they would be, irrespective of what the owner of Drip did wrong or right, is not an issue here. But in Solidarity would have tried to say, how do we save this black-owned brand, this township brand, and so on? What's your opinion about that in general?
Thank you, and that concludes the questions, President.
Thank you very much. I don't know what changes were going to be made, because we announced that the GTU will go into the office of the President, and that all those who were members of the GTU are no longer members of the GTU, and extended the invitation to the Chair and the Secretary of Provinces to constitute the GTU. That is with regard to the changing of positions in relation to governance in the EFF. Internally, we said even then, the position of Deputy President will not be filled because we are going to an NPA. So the NPA will elect the Deputy President according to the current constitution of the EFF. There is a position of Deputy President. I don't know, I have not seen it in the constitutional amendment discussion that position of Deputy President must be done away with. But those who are advocating for that, this is the right time to argue their case, because with regard to this discussions document, we are going to accept written submissions from anyone who has got a bright idea, any suggestion you think can constitute a very good resolutions for the EFF. You are more than welcome to make that position. Well, Doctor has been talking to the DA and has been flirting with the DA. That's why I told you there's nothing we can do about that. When the ANC province has lost control of its own regions, it shows that the ANC is in serious crisis, in a self-destruction mode, where regions of the ANC report national to Mbalula, where Mbalula undermines the ANC province and communicate directly with regions and meet them somewhere there in some hotel in that suburb next to in Sandton, and then plot the downfall of the provincial leadership of the ANC. Is their own internal problem. And factionalists like Doctor, who are challenged politically, ideologically, and otherwise, when they see such a vacuum, they will not waste time to grab such an opportunity and emerge. Who would have thought Doctor can work against Panyaza? Because Doctor and Panyaza were inseparable. But those are politics. There's nothing you can do about it. The doctor is engaged in open defiance of Panyaza's leadership, and to an extent engaged in caucuses that seeks to remove Panyaza and all of that. So, because of that relationship we have with the ANC in Ekurhuleni and everywhere else, and national to a particular extent, we can't throw our toys. We are in a coalition. We have not won any power. In the coalition, you negotiate every day for the next 5 years. Every day. Today you are in, tomorrow you are out. Did you see how mayors gets changed here? You wake up today, there's a new mayor, you can't even pronounce the name. As you are still practicing the name and mastering it, the guy is gone. Huh? That one of Joburg. What? Guamanda. 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 When we grab the name, gone. And then what? It's coalitions by their own nature. They are unstable, especially if they find people who are not matured to know that no one has won power. Because I told the ANC when I met with them, Panyaza and some of the leadership of the ANC, I said, every day in the province, in the municipalities, every day when you wake up, put it in your mind that you have lost power. Because you still want to operate like you've got power. And in the desperation to hang into power, they are even prepared to sleep with a strategic enemy. So, this is just power mongering. There's no principle at all. And it's a lie that if you insource, the banks lose confidence in you. Why didn't they lose confidence in Mashaba when he insourced here in Johannesburg? Why didn't they lose confidence in us when we passed the resolution in Ekurhuleni that we are going to insource? There must be an investigation on how we can go about it. Ekurhuleni never lost any support of the banks. Again, Swart Khafar. And it's not shocking coming from Freedom Front, because Freedom Front is a direct product of apartheid. They are the direct beneficiaries of apartheid. They are the designers of Swart Khafar. Because Freedom Front will say to people, if black people take over, they are going to kill white people. That's what they used to advocate for. So they are good with a lie. And we're not shocked they're saying the thing. There is no any motion, any insourcing that is going to drive away the banks. That's why we're talking about the establishment of state banks, so that when the commercial ones threaten to walk out, the state bank must walk in. Because we're not going to be dictated to by capitalist white-owned banks in South Africa. We must refuse that. We support the ANC leadership in Gauteng. And we don't do that in exchange for positions. The ANC national has made it very clear to them. You can go anywhere except the EFF. And they said, okay, we can go anywhere except EFF or MK, that's fine, but we're not going to DA. We're choosing to stay out with other small parties out of that GNU arrangement. That is a fair thing. When I met President Ramaphosa, I proposed that. I said, if you have a problem with going with the EFF, please don't go with the DA. Go alone and constitute a minority government. Exactly what Gauteng did, but they did it after. It was before even Gauteng did it. I said to President Ramaphosa, we've got 40%. Mapantiti have got this percent. This one has got that percent. You put together those percentages, you are still at the right position to can make decisions, because we will not support the DA in Parliament. Even when we are in disagreement with you, we will not vote with the DA, we'll rather abstain. And if we abstain, you make it through in Parliament. So Ramaphosa didn't need the DA at all. but he decided to go with the DA. So, at the center of this, I don't understand what Mbalula ate from who. Because the guy has changed. No one, the people who grew up with him, not a single person can identify the Mbalula who's speaking today. Who's addressing us every week like a presenter of Pala Pala FM. He's always pete, 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 saying a lot of nothing. Every week, there's a week where he addressed us the whole week. The whole week. So, why is Mbalula defending GNU even more than the person who came with the GNU, Ramaphosa? I mean, Ramaphosa is very reasonable about it. Mbalula is not reasonable about it. You speak against it, you will get a letter. What are you saying? When you arrive there, Ramaphosa says, hey, what are you doing here? Say, no, I'm called here. Say, there's no explanation. No, you are a list man. I don't understand what this guy is talking about. He is more GNU, more than the person who came. The person who came with this thing is Ramaphosa. Mbalula is the main man to date. He has overtaken the founder of the GNU. I'm very scared of that gem. It has changed the man. The man has changed completely. A sellout of notes, always ready to destroy his own in defense of white supremacists. To an extent that Mbalula agrees to put his signature on that agreement, which is a sold-out agreement, sell-out agreement. The historical account will be that Mbalula is the one who signed off our country back into the hands of white people. Ordinarily, such an agreement should be signed by a president. But Ramaphosa made a calculated move that I'm not going to go into this historic document, which is a sellout position. It was Mandela at Codesa who took de Klerk toe for toe. It was not Secretary General. It was Mandela and de Klerk like this. Today, when this is a complete sellout, they say, no, save the president, let this one come. Matriculous, let him come and sign what he doesn't know. And then Helen reminds him every day. But Mbalula, read. The problem is that you don't read. That is not what the agreement says. He's relying on verbal utterances. He has never read the thing. But he signed it. So, if Gauteng comes to us and say, guys, let's talk, let's come together, we are more than willing to talk to them. Pala Pala case, we told you Pala Pala will never die. It will never die. Even if it dies in the Constitutional Court, it shall be revived in Parliament. When Ramaphosa gets removed as the president of the ANC, the new president will not be interested in that thing. Will say, no, but this is what you need to do. Ramaphosa's day in court is coming with an independent NPA, with an objective parliament, with a parliament that is constituted the way we are constituting this parliament now. Pala Pala can pass. And Ramaphosa gets to be impeached, because you can be impeached even when you have left the office and followed up with criminal charges. So Pala Pala will never die. We have not eaten anything from Pala Pala people. That's why we have carried it. Helen has eaten. She supported the motion with John Steenhuisen in Parliament after eating the agriculture post, swallowed it. Now they've made a U-turn on Pala Pala. We are going to court about Pala Pala. Because our argument with Pala Pala is that once the panel says you move this way, Parliament has got no any other option except to follow what the panel says. The panel never said he's guilty. It just said there is a prima facie, and therefore you have to investigate if these things are true or not. But there is an impeachable case. And that's why we're pursuing this matter. Because the former Chief Justice, Ngobo, said, we're going. This is a correct direction to take. It's not us, politicians. It's not us, politicians. It's the former Chief Justice who said, there is an impeachable case. Let the man come and answer for himself. Let those judges of the Constitutional Court go and disagree with their former Chief Justice. In Mogale City, we are in a coalition. We don't agree with tenders, but they are tendering every day. The policy of the EFF that we don't want tenders. But we are not in power. We are negotiating with the people in Mogale City. Guys, let's build the state capacity and do away with this thing of tenders. So the question is going to be, because you don't want tenders and these people are tendering, what are you going to do? We are there fighting that struggle every day. That's what coalition means. The same goes to the land auction. We don't agree with the land auction. We are saying the land must be given to our people free of charge. And anyone who auctions the land knows very well who is the highest bidder. Because there will never be one amongst us who can be the highest bidder against these people. So you actually want to give it to white people, but we are giving it to them through a back door and calling it an auction. I don't know about Prasa. We'll follow up. I didn't know there's such a thing. After this, we'll make a follow-up, and because if that is the case, we'll attend to it. Staying off, you are quite correct. Pastor Ray Macaulay passed away. 4:05 was reporting outside his home or outside his church or something immediately. But that crook of staying off, Bargman, the one that they said he died, committed suicide, Josta, they just said he died. There was no camera of 4:05, 4:03, SABC outside his home to see people who are bringing condolences like you do with all the high-profile people. Why was that not done? Asia Akhudaman. He's still alive, that guy. And you've got the brief. You are part of the brief. That's why you did. Why didn't you go and report outside that guy's house? Is that guy of staying off? Is that guy of Busasa? A poor man, a rich guy dies in a poor man's car. You believe that? You believe that he went to bump into some bridge and he died? You have never put a camera outside his house. And even if he stays in an estate SG, they stand outside the gate of the estate. You have never done that with all these white crooks. Never. And you want us to believe. When I say they've made me, an EFF, the face of corruption, I mean us black people. They've made us the face of corruption. Any white person is not corrupt. Now, Joestar dies. All of a sudden, people are pleading guilty. There's no trial. Why these people didn't plead guilty then? No, they want to be pretending like they are doing something about this matter. There's nothing being done about this matter because it's a white crime. A white crime is covered. There's a cover-up for it in South Africa. So you are right. The media is to be blamed as well. I challenge you, even today, go and show us where this guy stays of staying off. Go and put a camera outside his house. Today, we see the people who are sending condolences to Pastor Ray Macaulay. We are going to see the people who are visiting the house. We're going to have interviews outside the houses of Pastor Ray Macaulay, because it's an honorable man. You don't have to cover him. God has covered him long time ago. Doesn't need your cover. So, when were we going to know where Pravin stays if he had not died? Because we never knew where Pravin stays. But you were broadcasting from outside Pravin's house. You even showed us luxurious hash carrying Pravin's coffin. Imagine if that coffin, that luxurious hash, was carrying Malema's coffin. The amount was going to be calculated, and we're going to be told how many poor people are going to be fed by Malema's coffin. But when such things are done by your favorites, in life and in death, you defend them. You never write any nonsense about them. We are being attacked in life and even in death. So, we still want to see where the Steinhoff guy stays. We support the Please Call Me case. We've made calls several times for Vodacom to settle this matter. And we know it's going before the courts. We may have to mobilize society behind. It's a just cause. It's a just cause to support. And I like the suggestion that perhaps Parliament must take a decision, which is a motion that we can sponsor, to suspend usage of Vodacom by members of Parliament in protest and in support of the Please Call Me guy. I have a meeting tomorrow with Lekau, the owner of DRIP. I want to understand what is going on. I want a minute detail of what is really going on, because at a face value, DRIP is doing well. And it was a growing brand found in many other shopping complexes. But we will not know the internal usages of monies and all of that. Why is there no business rescue? We just go to liquidation. Why is there no saving? Where is Patrice Motsepe when we need him? If he's indeed a successful black billionaire, where is he? When a young entrepreneur with such a promising future is going down. My brother, you can't compare us with those Afri-Forum things and what is this other one? Solidarity. Shema, even if I ask all EFF members to put together their last cent, they won't rescue the RIP. It needs 20 million. How much? 20 million. Won't get it. We're struggling now to get money for our own NPA. Imagine you saving the RIP. When you say you're going to save the RIP, another member of the EFF, what about us in the sheikhs here? You're taking the money to your friends. So, DRIP is worth saving. So let's hear the story and let's make calls. And the people who are going to intervene, they can take over the finances of DRIP until they stabilize, recover their money, and hand them over back to DRIP. So I'm unable to make a call now. But after those discussions, we'll issue a statement and say, okay, this is what we think can happen. Because more than Lekau, we're concerned about those workers. Ordinary workers who work in those shops. Their families are going to go hungry. And this is the problem with the economy of South Africa. Telkom is going to retrench. They have issued out a circular. It's going to retrench. That company of coal, of Bramike, not Sibanye, Seriti, is retrenching. Post office is retrenching. There's no area where there's no retrenchment. But we are told GNU is working. Show me in which area are the jobs being created. Because I only see jobs being retrenched, workers being retrenched. I only see jobs being lost. And I can tell you where the jobs are being lost. If you argue that the GNU is working, show me where they are hiring people today. Show me. You can't call those things of hiring people in their offices employment. The economy of South Africa as we speak today is retrenching. Under the GNU, hey, there is confidence of the GNU, there is investor confidence, but there is retrenchment. And we support AMCU, and it's the only union that has stood up to fight for those coal mine workers against it. We support them, and we are watching that process very closely, because we very soon will enter the space on the streets in solidarity with the workers. So please stop lying to us and saying there are jobs being created. There are no jobs being created. There is no investor confidence, because the investor confidence must industrialize, must produce jobs, must develop infrastructure. Where is massive infrastructural development in South Africa? 100 days has passed of the GNU. Show me what they've done in 100 days. Mbalula says, yeah, people said load shedding, it will come back after elections, wara wara. We solved load shedding. They solved load shedding in the 6th administration. It was not solved by this. There was never a load shedding when the 7th administration was introduced. It was stopped before. So they must not claim the victories of the 6th administration. They didn't stop load shedding. It was stopped then. Of course, we didn't believe it was genuine. We still don't believe it's genuine. But the GNU didn't stop load shedding. The GNU didn't create anything positive for our people. Nothing in the 100 days. So what are you talking about? There's nothing that a black man and a black child can point and say, these are the benefits of government of national unity. DRIP is closing down today, liquidated, under GNU. Under GNU. You say GNU is working. What's the land useless? Huh? What she knows is factionalism of Eastern Cape and corruption of her and Oscar Mabuyan and all of them. Why is Stella not rescuing DRIP in protection of all these people? Why is there no state bank that will put money to protect small business, including black-owned? If it's DRIP today, Batu is following, Tsepo Jeans is following, and were projected as failures as black people. That's how they want to perpetuate the narrative, by making us to fail. When they fail, they are being rescued. There is always a rescue for them. But when it's a black-owned firm or company, there's no rescue. I'm not being racist or anything. The facts are there to speak for themselves. You see, the only crime I've committed, SG, in this country, and why I'm the most hated person, is because I just tell you the truth, the way it is, and you don't want to hear it. That's why if you don't want to hear the truth, just switch off the press conference of the EFF, because you're going to hate us more for exposing the truth. We are about the truth, and will never shy away from telling the truth. We are not about political maneuvering and political position mongering. We are not about that. We are about protecting the vulnerable, the children, the women, the African masses of our people who are under attack from white supremacists who want to perpetuate white dominance of our economy. And that we will never agree. And that's what we are fighting about. So all the ground forces must ready themselves. We're going to an NPA, and that was all this conference was about. The discussion documents are there. Let's engage in intellectual engagements and not distort the discussion. If you have a different view, express it. We hope Sunday Times will give us space to express our opinion pieces, as they always do. and City Press. Actually, I'm shocked that of late, Sunday Times is more amenable than City Press. It used to be City Press because Sunday Times, even these days, can have an article strongly opposed to Ramaphosa. I'm like, hey, what's happening here? What is Tsepo doing with that institution? It looks like something is coming there. So let's engage. We're going to write articles about these documents, summarize them, send them to the newspapers, talk about them. We'll line up interviews with all of you. There's no one who's going to be denied interview except 403. 403 is the opportunity now to come and apologize to the NPA. It has been 5 years now. And after we left them, they never grew. They are declining. That's the power of the EFF. Once it goes the other way, the viewership goes down. So they want to grow the viewership. This is a right opportune moment. They must come and apologize to the NPA because that's where they made a mistake. They've never walked out of a press conference of apartheid, which killed our people. What was the justification to walk out of the EFF press conference? There was none except racist reasons. And they knew that that was a platform where the truth is going to be spoken, and they walked out of the truth. They must come back to the truth, swallow their pride, and apologize. They will get an interview immediately after the apology. Thank you.
Thank you, President and officials. We can release you. And then, members of the media, guess what we have for you? We have something for you. We have lunch on the first floor for you that I cooked myself.